Everyone knows the Munsters as TV's most lovable monster family, but in 1965 one episode went too far from illegal props 0:099 seconds to dangerous stunts. This is the story that almost ended the show. What happened that day was so shocking the footage was locked away forever. Now we're exposing 0:1818 seconds, the real reason this episode never made it to air and why the cast refused to talk about it for decades. The idea for 0:2525 seconds the Munsters didn't start in the 1960s, it actually began in the 194-40s when animator Bob Clampett, famous for loony 0:3333 seconds tunes, came up with a concept for a cartoon about a funny monster family. He worked on it for years, but it never took 0:4040 seconds off. The idea just sat there waiting for the right moment. That moment finally came in the early 1960s. Comedy writers 0:47 seconds Alan Burns and Chris Hayward, known for their work on Rocky and Bullwinkle, pitched a similar idea. They were inspired by Charles Addams's New Yorker 0:56 seconds cartoons, which featured a creepy but lovable family. But instead of creating something completely original, they turned to Universal Studios. Universal 1:051 minute 5 seconds owned the rights to classic monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula. They saw an opportunity to bring these famous creatures into a sitcom. That decision, 1:141 minute 14 seconds, shaped everything. Herman Monster became a Frankenstein-style father with bolts on his neck and a clumsy but lovable 1:211 minute 21 seconds personality. Grandpa turned into a comedic version of Count Dracula. The family lived in a giant rundown mansion. 1:281 minute 28 seconds on a quiet suburban street. To them, they were just a normal family. To everyone else, they were terrifying. Writers Norm 1:351 minute 35 seconds Liedman and Ed Hose took this concept and brought it to life. They wrote the first pilot, Love Thy Monster, which introduced 1:421 minute 42 seconds the characters and the show's satirical tone. The monsters weren't trying to be scary, they just wanted to live like any other American family. That was the heart. 1:511 minute 51 seconds off the comedy. The timing was perfect. In the early 1960s, classic monster movies were making a comeback. Universal had 1:581 minute 58 seconds started re-releasing its old horror films, and audiences were falling in love with them all over again. The idea of mixing monsters with sitcom humor was 2:082 minutes 8 seconds exactly what TV needed. Universal Studios played a major role in shaping the show because they own the classic monster 2:152 minutes 15 seconds designs. They could use them without any legal issues. This gave the show a unique look that felt connected to Hollywood's famous horror films. The studio also 2:242 minutes 24 seconds provided top-notch makeup and special effects. Bud Westmore, a legendary makeup artist, worked on the series. He made sure 2:312 minutes 31 seconds Herman, Grandpa, and the others looked like real movie monsters while still being expressive enough for comedy. 2:382 minutes 38 seconds beyond the visuals. Universal's influence extended to the show's tone. Instead of making fun of horror movies, the monsters 2:452 minutes 45 seconds celebrated them. Fans of classic monsters could enjoy the references while general audiences could laugh at the family's everyday struggles. At its core, the 2:542 minutes 54 seconds Monsters was a satire of suburban life. The family saw themselves as completely normal. They had dinner together, went to work and school, and worried about 3:033 minutes 3 seconds everyday problems, but because of their monstrous appearances they constantly confused and frightened their neighbors. The show played with this contrast in 3:123 minutes 12 seconds clever ways. The show also poked fun at traditional family sitcoms. In one episode, Lily encourages Herman to have a 3:193 minutes 19 seconds serious father-son talk with Eddie, just like dads and father knows best, or leave it to Beaver. But Herman's advice is so 3:273 minutes 27 seconds ridiculous that the moment turns into a joke. The show played with these sitcom cliches in a way that was fresh. In 3:343 minutes 34 seconds funny. Meanwhile, Fred Gwynn and Al Lewis didn't just play Herman and Grandpa Monster, they were the heart of the show. 3:413 minutes 41 seconds. Their journey to the monsters started years before on a different sitcom called Car 54. Where Are You? They played 3:493 minutes 49 seconds. Mismatched New York police officers, and their chemistry was undeniable. Audiences loved them together. More importantly, 3:563 minutes 56 seconds. They became close friends in real life. That bond carried over when the Munsters came along in early 1964 when casting 4:044 minutes. 4 seconds began. Producers knew right away who should play Herman and Grandpa. Gwen and Louis were the first ones chosen. Their 4:114 minutes. 11 seconds. Friendship made the Munster family feel real. Transforming Gwen into Herman wasn't easy. He wore heavy boots with 4:184 minutes. 18 seconds. 4 in lifts and layers of padding in total. His costume added 40 to 50 extra pounds. The heat from the studio lights. 4:254 minutes. 25 seconds made things worse. He once lost 10 pounds in a single day of filming. Despite all that, he gave every scene his best. His 4:334 minutes. 33 seconds. Deep voice, goofy laugh, and childlike charm turned Herman into one of the most unforgettable TV characters of all time. 4:414 minutes. 41 seconds. Off screen, he and Louis stayed close long after the show ended. Their friendship was just as strong as what fans saw on 4:484 minutes. 48 seconds. Television. Not every casting decision was so simple. Originally, the Munster matriarch was named Phoebe and she was 4:564 minutes. 56 seconds. Played by Joan. 9:149 minutes. 14 seconds. Episode Hot Rod Herman, where Grandpa Munster needed to build a dragster to win back the family's other car, but getting the coffin wasn't easy. At the 9:229 minutes. 22 seconds. Time. California law made it illegal to sell one without a death certificate. Richard Corky Chorus, who worked with the 9:299 minutes. 29 seconds. Scars. Designer George Barries had to be sneaky. He found a funeral home that was willing to make a deal. They left the coffin outside the back door at night. 9:389 minutes. 38 seconds. Questions asked. Once they had it, the rest of the car came together fast. A 289 cubic and Ford the 5th 8 engine gave it 359:479 minutes. 47 seconds. Horsepower. The exhaust pipes looked like a church organ. The back tires were huge Firestone racing slicks. The front wheels. 9:559 minutes. 55 seconds. Were tiny and came from an old buggy. Each hubcap had a silver spider just to make it extra creepy. The car appeared. 10:0110 minutes. 1 second. In the movie Monster Go Home, and at least 5 versions were built over the years. Some ended up in museums, others 10:0910 minutes. 9 seconds. Landed in private collections. And then there was the Monster Coach. If drag UL was built for speed, the Monster Coach. 10:1710 minutes. 17 seconds. Was built for style. George Barries, the same man who designed the 1960s Batmobile, created this one too. He used 10:2410 minutes. 24 seconds. 3 1926 Model T bodies and stretched them over for a 1927 touring car chassis. 10:3210 minutes. 32 seconds. The Monster Coach became just as famous as the show itself. It appeared at parades, exhibitions, and even ended up in 10:3910 minutes. 39 seconds. Private collections. Behind the scenes, the cast had their own struggles. Al Lewis, who played Grandpa Munster, had to deal with a problem no one expected. His 10:4710 minutes. 47 seconds. Prosthetic nose. At first the nose was much longer than the one most fans remember, but there was an issue. Every time he drank coffee the nose got wet. 10:5510 minutes. 55 seconds. Turned soggy and lost its shape. It became such a H that the makeup team finally shortened it. The unaired pilot of the Munsters was called My Fair. 11:0411 minutes. 4 seconds. Monster, and it played a big role in shaping the show. It was filmed in late 1963 as a way to sell the series to networks. This early version was 11:1311 minutes. 13 seconds. Different from what eventually made it to air, but it helped set the foundation. One of the biggest surprises was that it was shot in color. At the time, TV was 11:2211 minutes. 22 seconds. Moving toward more colorful productions, so it made sense, but that changed when the show was officially picked up filming in black and white. Not only 11:3011 minutes. 30 seconds saved money but also gave the series a classic horror feel, making it look like the old monster movies. Universal was known for the pilot was filmed on 11:3911 minutes. 39 seconds. Universal's backlit using the same suburban street scene and Leave It to Beaver. That was part of the joke. The Munsters were supposed to be just 11:4711 minutes. 47 seconds. Another ordinary family, but they lived in a haunted-looking house with a pet dragon. The contrast made everything funnier. The script was written by Norm. 11:5611 minutes. 56 seconds. Slebman and Ed Hose and Norman Abbott directed this early version had all the right pieces, but a few things needed to change before the show was 12:0412 minutes. For seconds ready for television. One of the biggest differences was the casting in the pilot. Joan Marshall played Phoebe Munster. This character was later renamed Lily in 12:1312 minutes. 13 seconds. Played by Yvonne DiCarlo. Phoebe looked and acted a lot like Mortia from the Addams Family, which made the producers 12:2012 minutes. 20 seconds. Rethink the role. They wanted Lily to be spooky but also warm and motherly. Changing the actress helped strike that balance. Eddie Munster was also so. 12:2912 minutes. 29 seconds different. He was played by Nate Derman, and his version of Eddie was far more aggressive. He snarled, acted wild, and had 12:3612 minutes. 36 seconds. A mean streak that made him seem less like a mischievous kid and more like an actual monster. When the show moved forward, the producers replaced him with 12:4412 minutes. 44 seconds. Butch Patrick, who made Eddie more playful and relatable. He was still a werewolf boy, but now he felt like a real 12:5112 minutes. 51 seconds. Sitcom kid rather than a creature from a horror movie. Herman and Grandpa Munsters stayed the same. Fred Gwynn and Al Lewis. 12:5912 minutes. 59 seconds were already cast in the pilot and their characters were pretty much set. However, Herman was played a little differently. He wasn't as goofy or lovable yet. In 13:0713 minutes. 7 seconds. This version he was more serious and had a deeper voice, making him seem more like a classic Frankenstein monster than a 13:1413 minutes. 14 seconds. Clumsy but kind-hearted dad. That changed when the show was picked up. They softened his personality, making him funnier and more charming. The tone of 13:2313 minutes. 23 seconds. The pilot also felt different. The humor was there, but it leaned more into horror. Even the music was changed. The theme 13:3013 minutes. 30 seconds. Song in the pilot had a surf rock feel which gave it a playful energy, but it didn't quite match the spooky tone of the show. The final version had a brass 13:3913 minutes. 39 seconds. Heavy theme that became one of the most recognizable TV songs of all time. Despite its differences, the pilot did 13:4613 minutes. 46 seconds. What it needed to do, it helped Universal Studios pitch the Munsters to networks, showing how horror and comedy could mix. 13:5313 minutes. 53 seconds. In a family sitcom, CBS liked the idea but wanted some changes. They asked for different CTES ing, a black and white 14:0014 minutes format and a shift toward comedy. These adjustments made the Munsters a huge success. Today the unaired pilot is 14:0714 minutes. 7 seconds. Available on DVD, allowing fans to see how the show evolved. It's a rare glimpse at an early version of something. That 14:1414 minutes. 14 seconds became iconic. The Munsters wasn't just a funny show about a monster family, it had something to say beneath the jokes. In 14:2214 minutes. 22 seconds. Slapstick. It tackled big ideas about acceptance and what it means to be different. The Munsters looked scary, but they were kind, loving. In 14:3014 minutes. 30 seconds. Completely normal in their own eyes. The world around them, however, didn't always see it that way. One episode that captured this perfectly was Operation 14:3914 minutes. 39 seconds. Herman Witch. 15:4215 minutes. 42 seconds. Many episodes in My Fair Monster. A neighbor complains that the neighborhood was nice until the Munsters moved, and the line was played for laughs, but at 15:5015 minutes. 50 seconds. Reflected a real issue in the 1960s. Many families faced discrimination simply for being different. Another episode, Monster. 15:5815 minutes. 58 seconds. Masker took the idea even further. Marilyn Munster, the only normal-looking family member, had a boyfriend. His 16:0516 minutes. 5 seconds. Parents were excited to meet her until they saw her family. The moment they realized Marilyn came from a house full of monsters, they wanted nothing to do. 16:1316 minutes. 13 seconds. With her, the joke worked because it flipped expectations. Marilyn was the odd one out in her family, but to the outside world she was the only one who belonged. 16:2216 minutes. 22 seconds. The message was clear. People judge others based on appearances, and sometimes those judgments are unfair. One of the most powerful moments in the 16:3016 minutes. 30 seconds. Entire series came in Eddie's nickname. Eddie was feeling insecure and Herman sat him down for a talk. What he told him. 16:3716 minutes. 37 seconds became one of the show's most memorable speeches. The lesson I want you to learn is that it doesn't matter what you look like, whether you are tall or short or 16:45 16 minutes, 45 seconds, fat or thin or ugly or handsome like your father, or you can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. What matters is the size of your heart in 16:54 16 minutes, 54 seconds. The strength of your character for a light-hearted sitcom. This was a bold moment. It wasn't hidden behind humor. It wasn't softened by a joke. At 17:0217 minutes, 2 seconds was direct. It was honest, and it struck a chord with audiences. This was why the Munsters stood out. It wasn't just about monsters living in a normal world. It was 17:11 17 minutes, 11 seconds, about how people treat those who are different. It used humor to make a serious point, and it did it in a way that still feels relevant today. When the 17:19 17 minutes, 19 seconds Munsters hit television screens on September 24, 1964, it was unlike anything audiences had seen before. A 17:26 17 minutes, 26 seconds family sitcom, but with monsters: a Frankenstein-like father, a vampire mother, a werewolf son, and a grandfather. 17:34 17 minutes, 34 seconds, straight out of a horror film. It was strange, but it worked. People loved the mix of comedy and classic monster tropes. 17:41 17 minutes, 41 seconds, and by the end of its first season it had become one of the most popular shows on TV. It ranked number 18 in the Nayland. 17:48 17 minutes, 48 seconds. Ratings right alongside Gilligan's Island. Critics took notice too. In 1965 the show was nominated for a Golden 17:56 17 minutes, 56 seconds Globe for Best TV Show, a rare honor for a comedy with such an unusual premise. Years later it would receive multiple TV 18:05 minutes, 5 seconds Land Award nominations. Celebrating its lasting impact, one award in particular recognized the change in cast when Pat 18:12 18 minutes, 12 seconds Priest replaced Beverly Owen as Marilyn Monster. Even with a major role being recast, the show remained strong. But no 18:19 18 minutes, 19 seconds show stays on top forever. In January 1966 something new arrived on ABC. Batman 18:26 18 minutes, 26 seconds burst onto the scene with bright colors, action-packed episodes, and a campy sense of fun that instantly hooked audiences. People who once tuned in for the 18:35 18 minutes, 35 seconds Monsters now had their eyes on Gotham City. The ratings for the Monsters started to sink. By the end of its second season it had dropped all the way to 18:43 18 minutes, 43 seconds, number 61 in the rankings. The network saw the numbers and made the call. In May 1966 the Monsters was cancelled. The 18:51 18 minutes, 51 seconds legacy of the Monsters goes far beyond its original run in the 1960s. Over the years spin-offs, films and reboots have 18:59 18 minutes, 59 seconds kept the characters alive, proving that the spooky yet wholesome charm of the monster family never really fades. One of the most notable follow-ups was the 19:08 minutes, 8 seconds Monsters Today, which aired from 1988 to 1991. This sequel series took an interesting approach. Instead of 19:17 19 minutes, 17 seconds continuing directly from the original, it explained that Grandpa had accidentally put the family into a deep sleep for 19:24 19 minutes, 24 seconds. Years when they finally woke up they found themselves in the late 1980s, trying to adjust to a new era with Lee Merriweather as Lily, Jason Marsden as 19:33 19 minutes, 33 seconds Eddie, and Howard Morton as Grandpa. The show managed to outlast the original series, running for 73 episodes. The first 19:41 19 minutes, 41 seconds full-length Monsters movie came much earlier in 1966, just as the original show was ending. Monster Go Home hit 19:50 19 minutes, 50 seconds theaters. This was the first time audiences saw the monsters in color, which made their eerie yet endearing appearances even more striking. The 19:57 19 minutes, 57 seconds film's plot had Herman inheriting a British manor leading to a wild adventure in England complete with scheming relatives, a hidden treasure. In 20:0620 minutes, 6 seconds a drag race. It kept the spirit of the series intact with Fred Gwynne, Yvonne De Carlo and Al Lewis reprising their roles. 20:14 20 minutes, 14 seconds as Herman, Lily and Grandpa attempts to revive the franchise continued with several made-for-TV movies. The Monsters Revenge 1981 reunited most of the original cast, but it didn't spark enough interest to bring the show back in the 20:28 minutes. 28 seconds 1990's two more TV movies with new actors tried to recapture the magic, but none had a lasting impact. Reboots on the 20:36 minutes. 36 seconds other hand have been a different story. Many have tried to bring the Monsters back, but few have succeeded. In 2012 NBC 20:44 minutes. 44 seconds produced Mockingbird Lane, a darker, more dramatic take on the series, directed by Bryan Singer and starring Jerry O'Connell. 20:51 minutes. 51 seconds as Herman. Despite its high production values, it never moved beyond the pilot episode. In 2017 there was an attempt to 20:59 minutes. 59 seconds relocate the Monsters to hipster Brooklyn, but that idea was quickly abandoned. The most recent effort came in 2022 when filmmaker Rob Zombie took a 21:0921 minutes. 9 seconds stab at reviving the Monsters with a feature film. Unlike past attempts, Zombie's version leaned heavily into 21:1521 minutes. 15 seconds campy humor and a colorful, exaggerated style, starring Jeff Daniel Phillips as Herman, Sherry Moon Zombie as Lily in 21:2321 minutes. 23 seconds Daniel Roebuck as Grandpa. The film divided audiences. Some fans appreciated its nostalgic approach, while others felt 21:3121 minutes. 31 seconds the story was lacking still. Its release on Netflix kept the Monsters in the public eye, proving that the family still has a place in pop culture. That 21:3921 minutes. 39 seconds influence can be seen across TV, music and movie. Shows like The Simpsons have paid tribute to the Monsters. Multiple 21:4621 minutes. 46 seconds times, especially in their Treehouse of Horror episodes. The character of Eddie Munson in Stranger Things was partly inspired by Eddie Munster, highlighting how 21:5521 minutes. 55 seconds deeply the show has embedded itself in pop culture. Even the show's iconic theme song has been covered by multiple artists over the years, showing just how 22:0422 minutes. For seconds recognizable it remains, but it's the characters that truly make the Monsters unforgettable. Herman Monster played 22:1122 minutes. 11 seconds, originally by Fred Gwynne, became a symbol of the show's humor and heart. Despite his Frankenstein-like appearance, he was a kind and goofy father figure, proving 22:2022 minutes. 20 seconds that even Monsters can be lovable. His deep booming laugh and childlike enthusiasm have been parroted in 22:2722 minutes. 27 seconds imitated in countless shows and film. Grandpa Monster, played by Al Lewis, brought another layer of comedy as in 22:3422 minutes. 34 seconds eccentric vampire with a knack for wild experiments. He was always cooking up trouble in his basement lab. His mischievous personality and old school. 22:4322 minutes. 43 seconds Dracula charm made him one of the most beloved characters, and his influence can be seen in other comedic takes on 22:5022 minutes. 50 seconds vampires. Over the years the impact of the Monsters reaches beyond just nostalgia. It helped shape sitcoms. That 22:5722 minutes. 57 seconds blend comedy with the supernatural. Its success paralleled that of The Addams Family, which aired around the same time, though the two shows had very different. 23:0623 minutes. 6 seconds Stones. The Monsters was more lighthearted, while The Addams Family leaned into dark humor. That mix of horror and comedy influenced later shows. 23:1523 minutes. 15 seconds Like What We Do in the Shadows, which balances vampire lore with absurd humor, and even Stranger Things, which mixes. 23:2223 minutes. 22 seconds Supernatural elements with heartfelt family dynamics at its core. The Monsters wasn't just a gimmick about monsters. 23:2923 minutes. 29 seconds Living in Suburbia. It was a satire of the ideal American family, flipping the script by making its monstrous. 23:3723 minutes. 37 seconds Characters. The most wholesome part of the show decades later. That charm still holds up, proving that even in a world of 23:4423 minutes. 44 seconds Modern sitcoms and high-budget reboots, the simple magic of the Monsters remains timeless.